Good evening, everyone, or good morning, wherever you may be. It's Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, or as some people like to call me, Tom Numbers, here from Sight Club, one of my YouTube channels, and also the Tom Numbers Show, Top of Your Game, my other YouTube channel. So I've got a wonderful guest with me. I've got Mr. Gene Ho in the house, in the virtual house. And how are you, buddy? It's good to see you.
I am so excited to be on your show. I tell you, I've become a big fan of Tom Numbers. So ever since we first talked, I was like, okay, can I start by saying I thought you were crazy, right? It's like you're talking numbers and all this stuff. But I'm a big fan. So thank you very much for having me on the show. You made me a believer in this, so it's good.
Good. Sound like the Monkeys. I'm a believer. Yeah. Now I'm a believer. Davy Jones. Excellent. Yes. Well, I'm glad you're getting it, Gene. You got it in the last show we did. You started to get it's clicking. So,
I even more so. Here's the thing with our whole movement. It's all about doing your own research, researching it, finding out for yourself. And so, ever since then, I slowly became, because I was like, hey, well, this guy's cool. I'll hang out with him and all this stuff. But I'm telling you, it's very interesting, and I also believe a lot of the elite, if I could say that, both good and bad, in politics and in the world, they use gematria. So it's wonderful. Right. It's great, and it's great to be here.
You're exactly right, buddy. Well, I think we might have mentioned this before, but on President Trump's plaque when he speaks at his rallies, it's 88022. In the numbers, for new listeners, for new viewers, when we talk numbers, we're talking gematria, but numbers, A is the first letter, so it's 1. B is the second letter in the alphabet, so therefore equals 2. C is 3, all the way through to Z or Z, 26. So if you add up the word Trump, T is the 20th letter, R is the 18th letter, U is the 21st letter, M is the 13th, and then P is the 16th, TRUMP. Or maybe I should do it this way, TRUMP, comes to 88 when you spell it out. And then 22 also translates to the word MAGA. And then you add them together, comes to 110 president, and it also comes to Christmas. So Merry Christmas, buddy.
Well, and just so you know, for those of you on Tom's audience who doesn't know who I am, I was Donald Trump's photographer for 2 years. So all through that whole MAGA movement in 2015 and 2016, I was behind the scenes taking pictures of Donald Trump. So that's where the connection is. And it's wonderful. It's great. And also now I'm the editor-in-chief of George. And so if you go to George Online, I have a show on there. And I was talking to Tom before this. I said, Tom, you got to come on my show. So hopefully very shortly after the New Year's, Tom, if you can come on the show.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'd like to tell people about this, because if you think about it, it's almost like a hidden language. But anyway, I just thought it would be interesting. So,
yeah, it is. It is. You're right. It's a hidden language, and some of the fun things about the word George. George equals 57, and I'm a big fan of Tesla, as in Nikola Tesla. Yeah. Tesla's also 57, and also England, where I am currently right now, is 57 as well. So there's a lot of cool things with the word George. And magazine, if I remember rightly, is 76, which is a magic wand, which is contact, and that's what you're doing when you produce a magazine, either physically or digitally or both, which you do. You're making contact with the viewers, with the listeners, with the readers, and contact is also magazine 76, contact 76 is also a magic wand. President Trump said, "I guess we have a magic wand. I guess we have a magazine." So. I guess we've got it now.
It's all really interesting. By the way, before we even get started, what's the weather like? Because in the States right now, the whole United States is like frozen. It's very, very cold here for some reason. So
I remember actually, Gene. So when I went with Rachel and I met you up at the Idaho Clay Clark event. Eric Trump was there and everyone else, and so when we were transitioning from Iowa, we stopped in, what was it? What state was it? No, I can't remember now. Anyway, we had to get a connecting flight up to Post Falls on the Washington border, and then we went to Coeur d'Alene into Idaho. And,
right.
Spokane, wasn't it? It was up that way, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so we met General Flynn. So I met General Flynn at the airport, and he said, talking of the cold weather, he said, "Oh, it's going to be a very cold Christmas." Sorry, not very cold. He said it's going to be a very cold winter. So he said it's going to be very cold, and I heard that a few times, and then he was telling me that in person. I was like, okay. So we've had a real cold snap. It's not too bad right now. Earlier in the week, it was very cold. And I'm down here on the coast right now in Bournemouth, just at the beach, just enjoying a festive time down here. And I go out on the pier and the waves, and there's surfers out in the water. There's guys surfing and catching the waves, and there were jet skis the other day. But it is very cold, but not as cold as it had been. It was down to 0, 1-0 like a week or so ago. Really cold, but thankfully it's raised a bit. But from what you're saying, sounds like you're in a real
the whole
cold, right?
the whole United States is very cold, and a lot of these places where we are, and I'm in Hot Springs, Arkansas, but a lot of these places, they're not really prepared for the cold snap in Texas, so they have a lot of power outages. They're just
Right.
not. I mean, other places well, but this is not, used to this sort of weather. So it's very interesting, and it makes for a very cold Christmas weekend. But it's kind of nice. It gives families a chance to settle down and not leave the house and just relax a little bit. So it's actually a good thing.
Yes, and there's probably a number of meanings behind it as well, since they knew it was coming and we've heard it, and now it's here. And so this is interesting. So the word cold is actually 34, which comes to DJT. It comes to grace, and people might be like, "Oh, it's so cold. How can that be graceful?" Well, let's just see what comes after when the thaw happens, and also the word ice is 17, which is also the 17th letter of the alphabet, which is Q, etc. So there's a lot of comms on this.
What a coincidence! I'm just messing with you.
What a coincidence, eh? It's always there. It's constantly before us, and this cold snap. And this is the other thing that is funny about it, is the word winter equals 89, but also on the flip side, the word summer also equals 89. So they're both the same value, but they're just the two flips. They're the polar opposites.
Okay, so Tom,
89.
I got to ask you, since I'm always up for a good conspiracy theory. Do you think? And you brought it up because Flynn said it. Do you think this cold snap has anything to do with man-made things? Maybe. Or whatever?
I think there's a good chance of that. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things. You've probably seen it with clouds in the sky, different things out there. But I think they do have the ability to direct,
weather manipulation.
Yeah, I think so. It seems like it. I'm not an expert on it, but just using my own observation, seeing things in the sky. That we get beautiful, weather patterns, cloud patterns up here, but some of them do look very peculiar. Talking of Texas, you said Texas. So a few years ago, I drove south from Oklahoma down to
Hold
Frisco.
on, let me see if I get my light back on here.
Oh, you dropped the light. Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. There you go. All right, good.
All right.
No, it's I find it interesting with that. Extremely interesting. So I got no proof of it, whatever. And then I also wonder, like, why would they want to freeze us out right now anyway? But is this interesting?
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it kills, I won't say the word, but the thing that we went through in 2020, kills off the V word. Maybe that's kind of, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. There's probably a number of comms and reasons and details and actualities why they need it. But I guess in time we'll get that revealed. But I was saying, in terms of, another example of your question, it was a few years ago, I drove from Oklahoma down to Texas to go and watch a soccer match. And I still know him, but the soccer coach for the US national team, Jurgen Klinsmann, he's German, but I know Jurgen, and he got me tickets. So me and a friend went down to watch a couple of back-to-back national games. It was at the Dallas United DC. What are they called? Dallas United. Anyway, whatever they are in the MLS, I can't remember. I forget the name, but they're based in Frisco. It's a beautiful stadium. So we saw 2 back-to-back games with the US national team. But the reason I mention that is about maybe 2 weeks prior to our trip straight south, they'd had like a flood. They'd had a road had collapsed across the freeway, but they'd managed to excavate a lot of the rubble, but you could still see the remains of it. But a little further down, or was it prior to it, is in that location, we literally got hit by a fire hose of rain for 10 minutes. I've never experienced anything like it. And it wasn't even it was the summer. So it was the summer. And I know you get tornadoes and everything. I've not seen any of those before. I did see a tiny one in Arizona of all places once, but I've been there when the sirens have been on in the Midwest. But literally, it felt like our car was going to be pushed off the road because the water was so powerful. It was like a fire hydrant from above for about a 10-minute period. I was like, do we stop? If we stop, we might not be able to start the car again. So it was the weirdest thing. And then we saw the game, or the 2 games. And then that night went back up and we got hit by the same thing again. So it was literally like the Truman Show. It was like a tap in the sky for about a 10-minute section. And I've never experienced anything like that in England, nowhere, other than there. It was like a fire hydrant.
Tom, this was less than a year ago, I experienced my first tornado. And I used to live in Myrtle Beach, so I was used to the hurricanes. And I'll be honest, the hurricanes are like, you get so used to them and you have a lot of time to prepare. But I was driving down the road coming here, and I'm telling you, it was like when you get that cell phone notification, like take cover immediately.
Yeah.
If you've never been in a tornado, it will be the best thing. I have to say this, if you can survive it, it's the best thing that could ever happen to you. Because once you go through that, there's nothing else in the world that will scare you, because it is so powerful. And to see how big it is, and just to feel like, like you could be just like carried away and swept away. It is powerful. It is a sight to behold. The only time you ever seen it was like Wizard of Oz. You see kind of like what it looks like, but in real life, these things are massive and they're powerful. So it's just interesting to talk about that.
That's really cool that you've I was thinking around that vicinity, Gene, and you've kind of, I don't know, our thoughts are connecting as we're talking, but you mentioned Wizard of Oz, and Wizard of Oz is kind of synonymous with, going to Kansas with Dorothy, etc. There's some interesting things about that with the numbers. So Wizard of Oz is 176. And someone that you know very well is Donald J. Trump Jr. is also 176. And also Back to the Future is also 176. The time travel comedy movie. And but I mentioned that because there's an interesting thing that's happening right now with Twitter, with Elon Musk. And then there was a rumor put out about Don Jr. becoming the CEO of Twitter. And then Don Jr. said that's fake news, or it's not the case, but he'd love it if it happened. I'm just wondering if they're lining it up for something like that, because we were told first about Elon going to buy Twitter back in March or April of this year, and then it kind of fizzled out. But I found a code in the film Back to the Future, and I've mentioned this before, but I want to share it with you. At the end of Back to the Future, when Marty travels back in time from 1955 to 1985, and there's a storm that accompanies it and helps this time travel happen. And bearing in mind, time travel comes to John Kennedy, and John Kennedy, he's the original Inception of Your George magazine. It was his magazine. And so, but there's a symbol, there's a placard of a hotel. Actually, it's a motel in Back to the Future. The storm's happening. Martin, I don't know if you're familiar with the film Back to the Future.
Oh, no, I'm just really quick, Tom, I'm very familiar with it. And some people know, but Biff was actually modeled with this time machine that he got by accident or whatever. It's actually based upon Donald Trump. And that's like from the producers, everything. That's like, Yeah, I'm all into conspiracies and all this stuff, but like, I mean, that's a fact of what it is, and you could see
Yeah.
in the movie how he's like that.
Yeah,
But anyway,
exactly.
that's a great point there. So
Well, the other beauty of this is um, so in the first one, the first Back to the Future, right at the end before Marty goes back, you've got the storm,
right.
and Emmett Brown goes, "The storm." So what's the storm? You know, what's the storm, Mr. President? Oh, you'll find out. And the interesting thing about it is the numbers on Emmett Brown is 148, which comes to Donald J. Trump. It comes to Simple Gematria, which is the numbers that we're sharing. And it also comes to Time Traveler. And that's what Emmett Brown is. And he says, oh, I discovered time travel on November 5th. November 5th comes to 143, Melania Trump. And the phrase Back to the Future comes to 176, which comes to Donald J. Trump, Jr., as in his son. But at the end of the film, there's a placard and it says Bluebird Motel.
Okay.
So anyone that's not seen it, go back and watch the last 5 minutes of the film, Bluebird Motel, maybe the last.
Is this the first or the second or the third?
The first one.
First, okay.
Yeah. So it's
they're really quick, Tom. Do you have something on your websites like Back to the Future? These are the numbers, or that would be fascinating.
I don't actually. All I've got is just my YouTube channel, but maybe I should do something like that. That would be fascinating.
I think it's very interesting, and like I watched the those films many times over. It's a wonderful film just to watch, but also like now you got, like, I always look for hidden meanings. They're like 9/11 on one of them. It's really Twin Pines Mall and all that stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so blue. What's up with that motel thing?
So the Bluebird Motel is a reference to Twitter, because the Bluebird Motel has the bluebird, the picture of the bluebird painted on the hotel sign, on the motel sign. And so the bluebird is the Twitter symbol, the bluebird.
Okay.
And so it says Bluebird Motel. And the reason we know that is when you do the gematria, you do the numbers on it, Bluebird Motel comes to 138, which comes to I Am Twitter. It comes to Elon Musk Bank. And we know that Elon bought Twitter with, a lot of cash, $44 billion. And then it also comes to Donald Trump, 138. And then fancy that we'd get the rumor of Elon playing around and saying, I'm going to get rid of Twitter. And he uses a poll and they say it was 57%. 57 again is George. And then we haven't heard the announcement, or as far as I know today, we haven't heard yet who's going to replace him. But I'm wondering if they are maybe setting the framework for someone like Don Jr., because Donald J. Trump Jr. comes to 176, comes to Back to the Future. And so wouldn't that be beautiful? Because I picked up this Twitter one back in April, May time, or March when it was announced. And then it kind of fizzled out. Even President Trump said, oh, Elon's not going to get Twitter. He's not going to get Twitter. And then he goes, well, maybe. Who knows? And he knew, And so what a beautiful way. But the thing is, talking of, it's just amazing how it all lines up. And you have to travel at 88 miles per hour to time travel. And 88 equals the word Trump. And that time when I last saw you most recently in Post Falls at the event, Eric Trump was there. I had my 88 miles per hour T-shirt, and I got a photo with him. And then I did the numbers on. I didn't know this at the time. I knew Eric's numbers, but I didn't know my numbers plus his. And I'm wearing 88 mph, 88 miles per hour. And it says if you do Eric Trump and Tom numbers, it comes to 282, which comes to Transition to Greatness, which comes to 88 miles per hour. And I've got the 88 miles per hour T-shirt on with Eric Trump. And Eric Trump and Tom numbers equals 282, which equals 88 miles per hour. So something's going on, Gene. We're in a kind of divine positive flow. And it's like, how is this all possible? How is Elon Musk Bank, Donald Trump, and I Am Twitter all equal 138, the Bluebird Motel? And people might say, oh, you could do anything. You can't do anything with it. There are many values you can get, but then you've got the Bluebird symbol. You've got the Twitter symbol to confirm and stamp it for everybody that might kind of.
No, so, and Tom,
it's there on the symbol on the hotel.
Tom, I get it is that is your show, but like when you come on my show, and I have to ask you because I know at least some of your watchers or some people watching me for the first time here with you. Do you think that something like this? I mean, do people say to you, "Hey, this is just a parlor game that you're doing, that you could take these numbers and just manipulate"? Because I mean, it's uncanny. I will say that with Back to the Future, 88, representing Trump, whatever, and then, but is it a? Help me defend people when they say Tom Numbers is just doing this as a parlor trick. He's really good at tricking people with these numbers to make coincidences. Anyway.
Well, first of all, I'd say that's usually so, because I used to get a lot of those questions in the beginning, and it tells me that they haven't done gematria themselves. So if they did 3 months of gematria, they'd come back with a different question. The question would be answered. But a shortcut answer is A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. So you can get, there's thousands of words in the English language. We all know that. But you can't make 88 miles per hour, which is 282. You can't make that the word book. You can't, so there's thousands of things it can't be. There's thousands of things it could be if you can be bothered to find them.
Right.
But there's for as many numbers as you get, because I can get numbers from 9, 6 or whatever, all the way up to into the 400s and 500s. But you can't make something into, you can't make tree into 88 miles per hour. It doesn't work. But you can get a lot of values. But then that's why I'm saying, so you can get all the gematria values, but then when they put it in your plain sight and they put the Twitter symbol on the Bluebird Motel, it's there.
I gotta watch that again. So
you got to. And I give you a couple of others to watch as well, Gene. So you brought up about Donald Trump and Biff. Yeah. And there's also another. If you watch Back to the Future 2, when Marty is in the town square. Yeah. And there's the big Jaws sign that comes out, the hologram. I remember. Yep. You remember that part? Yep. So just around that scene, there's a bit where there's another Donald Trump. There's not Biff, but there's a MAGA Trump. And you see this tall guy, and he's wearing like a kind of orangey gold jacket, and he's got a MAGA hat. Can't see the writing, but it's a red MAGA hat. And there's this guy with the blonde Trump locks, and he just walks right across the scene, and you see him. You can't see his face, but it's a silhouette of Trump. There's another Trump they put in the movie. But then going back to Jaws. So Jaws 19, you had like Jaws 3D and Jaws 4. Right. And so Jaws 19, get this one. I'm listening. This is, just so you know, this is very fascinating. I probably watched Back to the Future. That's one of those movies I think I watched all 3 of them. I'm going to say like 10 times each or so, at least. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating to see. Now I got to go back and look for the magazine. Anyway. You'll see them. So Jaws 19, the hologram comes down and it scares Marty, and then he realizes the hologram, it's an illusion, it's not real. So that's key. So Jaws 19, if you translate the word Jaws, Jaws, if you translate that into Italian, the Italian word for Jaws is Fauci, Fauci, Fauci. So you've got Jaws 19, Fauci 19, and what was he? He was the doctor of COVID 19. So they put that in the movie as well. And it scared Marty, but it was an illusion. It wasn't quite what they said it was. And then if you fast forward to the 3rd film, you'll remember that Emmett Brown has a love interest. Right. And her name is Mary Steenburgen, but I know that's the actor's name. Yeah, that's the actor's name. What do they call her? Something Ravine. So it's Clayton Ravine. Her name's Clara Clayton. Her name's Clara Clayton in the film. And that comes to 125, which comes to John Kennedy, time travel, and 88 mph. If you do the abbreviation for miles per hour, 88 mph comes to 125. Okay, so you got to. This is great. See, I love this. I was looking forward. It's like it's Christmas Eve. No better place to spend it than with Tom. All right, so
Clara Clayton, who, by the way, should have died. I'm just saying that in the movie, she should have died, and she didn't.
She didn't. She
She was saved by Doc Brown.
Yes, hoverboard. Hoverboard. They got the hoverboard, and she's wearing a nice purple garb. She's all dressed in purple. Purple is 88. But this is one of the key things related to the timelines that we're in right now, Gene. So in the third film, you'll remember the bit where Emmett and Clara are having a kind of romantic scene, looking up at the night sky.
Yeah,
they've got a nice golden telescope. Golden is 57, George. You've got telescopes. You've got Bushnell telescopes in Kansas City, Missouri, where it's actually on the Kansas side, but it's a twin city, and that's where the Yellow Brick Road for the Wizard of Oz goes to. Anyway, they're looking up at the sky, and then she says this random thing in the film that it would have made no sense to any of us unless we'd gone through 2020. And this is what she says. She says, "When I was 11 years old, I remember my father telling us how we'd have to quarantine for 3 months."
She says that in the movie.
She says that in the movie. She says that in the movie.
No, listen, Tom. It blows my mind. I see now. Oh, hey, this is a good way to spend like the Christmas, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch them.
And they'll be on over the Christmas period. They've already done the first one here in England a couple of days ago. They will be on TV again.
Well, I everything I got, I have to stream because I don't even have like the real cable things anymore.
Yeah,
but I'll
stream them. Yeah.
So she says when we were young, we had to quarantine.
Yeah, she says basically she had this. She says when she was 11 years old, she had this dream about her father telling her that they had to quarantine for 3 months. If we'd not gone through spring of 2020, none of us would have any idea what that means. We would have missed it completely because it's not related to the film. She just tells us.
Right.
And I only noticed it after we'd gone through the period of 3 months and the cinemas opened back up in England, and I was able to go and watch all the Q films that Donald Trump had basically said, "Tom, I'm putting out the old films. I want you to go and watch them and decode them," which I did. And so I've known that one. All those things in Back to the Future I've known for the best part of 2.5 years now since all that took place. But they're there, and then the question is then, how did they get there? What happened? That's the question, and there's many ways you can go with that. But it's such a fascinating question. It's like these things in films are coming to pass, but also I believe in a good way, because we've had the predictive programming of things in the past that have been not so good. But I believe the more and more I look at films and any popular culture, it's almost like the good light. Now that we're being more aware of it, there's always been there. It's always been there, and it's been the antidote for the stuff that we were.
And then I think you're the one who told me about this, but I do remember it because at the end of the film, he comes in a train, like the Trump train type thing.
That's it.
At the end of the movie.
Yeah. And guess what? The number of the Trump train is?
Oh, a lot. I mean,
it's 130. It's 131, which comes to John F. Kennedy.
All right. I'm not.
But you're right. The Trump train. And also Trump train comes to 150, which also comes to drain the swamp. So simultaneously at the same time, Donald Trump is draining the swamp, which he's been doing and still continues to do.
Okay. So,
but at the same time, the Trump train, the positivity and the wealth and the prosperity for people is happening. So he said it during lockdowns. He said, we can do multiple things at once. We can do more than one thing at once. So he's telling us we're doing many, many things at once, simultaneously. Many things are going on.
So do you think, Tom, I feel like I'm getting it, like, do you feel like they're punking us? Or do you feel like someone's trying to send us a message from way back when to here? The reason why I say that, I mean, I'm telling you this, we got a lot of stuff going on in George. And you talk a lot with Rachel, Right Side Blonde. And, I'll be honest, like some of them, I have to take a back seat because she'll tell me all these things that were so-called predicted or coincidences in George. It's almost as if he and Trump had a time machine. I'm just not saying that because how are you going to prove whatever, but it's just interesting.
They did and do, yes. Yeah.
No, is more than fascinating, and I'm telling you, I gotta check out some of
they're
that.
not punking us, Gene. They're not punking the light. They're punking the darkness. So at the same time, so they're punking them, but at the same time, they're giving comfort and blessings and prosperity and faith and hope for the future and what's coming to the good people. So they're doing it both sides. So that it depends where your energy and focus is. People feel, oh, nothing's happening. Well, if that's what you focus on, that's what you're going to get, because there are two things going on. It's like, well, there's more than two things, but at least two things. There's the dark stuff that's going, and they're getting pumped in more ways than one. But then the good stuff, the patriots, the people that follow and believe in President Trump and goodness and God and light and Christ, and however you want to, if you believe in goodness and you look for it, you're going to find a myriad of good things in everything. And so, yeah, one side's being punked and the others are being restored and given things that were always theirs and should have been theirs. Yeah.
No, it's. I'll be honest, Tom. It's fascinating, and it's also interesting how you came. I guess if I could say to light, but you came like, like the knowledge of it is being brought to the mainstream with what you're doing, almost at the right time. Like, I mean, I heard your story before where you're like how you came about with this, but like it almost seems like someone like you, who, quite frankly, which is a good thing, but quite frankly, came to a great popularity fairly fast in this time. I mean, you're hanging out with, I mean, you went from whatever you were doing to now like getting your pictures taken with Eric Trump, hanging out at these events with us, all this stuff. It's fascinating the time we're living in, and how like almost we need a Tom Numbridge to be here at this time is what I'm saying. It's very interesting.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. You're right. It's like I was prepared for this, but until we went through 2020, the beginning of 2020, before we'd had the Clara Clayton moment, looking up at the stars, and I wasn't ready to be. I as soon as that happened, I got activated. I mean, I got activated in 2015 when I met Ivanka. I understood the numbers very minutely. I didn't know they were connected alphabetically. But as soon as we hit the big one in 2020, it just came to me. It descended upon me. It was like a download. It was a gift from above, and I just took it and I ran with it, and I was prepared for this time, just like you were and everyone else.
Hey, listen, with me, and this much I could say, man, I was living a life that was, if I could just say, selfish and self-absorbed, and just like all this stuff. Everything came upon me almost at one time, and now I see where I fit into the stream of time. I see why I'm here. I understand that, but I could see that with you too. I mean, a lot of these people in this whole movement, and I know you're in England, but like this whole Great Awakening, they come from all sorts of people, and I'll be honest, it takes a certain amount of talent. I feel it's God-given to understand those numbers and to do it that quickly in your head, which is amazing. I don't know. It's interesting. I do have an idea for us.
Yes.
Right after next week is a short week. So my show is called About George. It's like the video portion of the magazine. But next week we're taping, but it's a short week. I'm thinking maybe the first week in January, the beginning of the new year, we have you on. We talk a little bit about this, but the show is so short, Tom, that I think that if we tell people like, hey, go to your site, and you kind of like, we tell them where this link is, because the conversation goes more than just like my half-hour show. The show goes really fast, but I mean, stuff like this is to me, it's so interesting. And I don't know, well, it's because I'm interested in all these things with the Great Awakening, with Donald Trump, but I've been a big fan of Back to the Future, and then now to slowly see like, wow, I didn't know about all these things like the Twitter thing and what it seems like they're putting in there, hidden messages in Gematria that just, to be honest, kind of gives us hope. It really does.
Exactly. That's it. It gives us, that's exactly the point, Gene. It gives us hope. It gives us hope. It gives us light in the confusion. It gives us hope, and it gives us light, and it gives us direct and comfort. And faith in the future.
No, I feel on top of this, I feel like good things are are coming, and I feel like good things are coming for America. I think that there'll be some hard times that we'll have to still endure, more than one. But at the same time, I feel like this is part of the Great Awakening when you see these things. And one thing I can say, Tom, and we've had this discussion before, but I look back at some of those music videos in the '80s when I was listening to watching all those music videos, and I had no idea that they were really punking us. With all their symbolisms and everything. Oh, excuse me, all the symbolisms that they put into the movies, music videos actually. Mm-hmm. Now it's interesting because it's like for the first time that God's people have their own language and their own ways of communicating, their own, all of these things put in. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of nice. I mean, I get why they're playing the game. It's pretty fun when you know something and they know something. When you walk around these events and your shirt says 88 miles per hour, people like, I know what you mean. You're like talking to each other.
Yeah.
In codes.
Yeah.
I get why they do it. Quite frankly, it's fun. Like the joke's on you. Type of thing.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned things in popular culture when they were punking, and also a guy and I loved I think it was your TikTok post you did a few weeks ago about Prince.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned again 88 miles per hour when people see it. So another thing to mention is when President Trump did his announcement on Tuesday, November 15th, just last month, at Mar-a-Lago, and he basically said it starts now. He said he said lots of content there, but he said it starts now. He chose that date deliberately because Tuesday, November 15th equals 282, which equals transition to greatness, which equals 88 miles per hour. So President Trump chose that date deliberately because it's the 88 miles per hour, which is the thing that changes everything. But going back to your Prince post, and you said a couple of things. You said about the Great Awakening. So there's two songs in popular culture that talk about rain. There's November Rain by Guns N' Roses, and I didn't meet Axl Rose, but I was in a club with him once, and he walked straight past, a couple of times, and he had his cornrows. Anyway, that's another story. But he's got a great booming voice. You probably met him. And then Prince does Purple Rain. So guess what the numbers on both of these are? These are really interesting, Gene. So Great Awakening comes to November Rain. Rain is 42, which is new, but it's also war. And November comes to 94, which is John John. So you've got New John John, or you've got John John War, which comes to, it's also a third eye war if you want to take it that far. So it's a battle for consciousness. But that comes to 136, Great Awakening. And then you go to Prince. Prince comes to 130. Sorry, Prince doesn't come to 130. Purple Rain comes to 130, because if you do purple, 88, which is Trump, the purple, the color is 88 Trump. And then if you do the word rain, it's 42, which is war, but it's also new. So it's Trump war or new Trump. So you've got the two sides of it. And that comes to 130. And 130 comes to the Kennedys. And so there's all these things that have been going on with these movie stars.
I said this on your show last time. The most misheard of lyric ever is in Purple Rain, where it says, and I got to sing it for you, but where he says, you say you want to leave her, but you can't seem to make up your mind, so you better close it and let me guide you to the Purple Rain. You look at the lyrics on the internet, it doesn't say if you want to leave her. It says if you want a leader, a leader, close your mind and let me lead you to the Purple Rain. I just say this because, for forever, as a wedding photographer before this, we're all there and people at the end of the night, they're like, if you want to leave her, and then it's like, no, if you want a leader. Most misread or misspoken lyric, but it's just interesting when you talk about Purple Rain. You know what? Maybe perhaps it's not a love song. The same.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. It's probably a prophecy for our times now.
Yeah. Interesting. I love it. See, this is why I wanted to spend Christmas Eve with you, Tom, because it's great. It's good. It's really good.
So tell us about George, and because George, people can get by. Am I right in thinking you can can you do a subscription for the year, or is it just one by one?
No, you could do a subscription, and it goes from auto ship. The problem is the people, and I don't know. I know your audience is a lot of them is in America, but right now it's only in the United States that you can get it. And we hate that, it sucks, but we're on the path. You got to apply for all these things with tariffs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's you can go to georgeonline.com. You can read it free, or you could actually buy a copy of it. It's wonderful, and then go along with that. If you go to georgeonline.com, you'll see my show. If you go to watch, it's called About George with Gene Ho. Besides you on the magazine, but like we really, really want to get you like on right after the new year. Talk about some of the stuff, because just the one connection, that 88022 that everyone's seen all over. I mean, if people could open their mind to it and say, whoa, maybe Donald Trump is actually talking to us through gematria. Who knows? But well, so I love that. And then, like I said, Tom, and it's up to you, but if you could, I guess we could even on some of them online, put it in the notes or whatever, so that people go to this episode, watch it, because I mean, it's so short of a program. It's like half an hour. You can't really go into a lot of this stuff. And it's anyway, to me, it would be great, because I think a lot of people just need to know this, and I think it's part of the Great Awakening. So it'd be perfect. Yeah,
we could do that for sure. And I know Dave emailed me a bit about maybe we could do an article or something, or I don't know, we could do it in the show, or an introduction to gematria in the magazine. Or
Tom, you know what? And it's not only me, but it's like Rachel and Dave and the editorial staff. But man, if you did something with Back to the Future with all this connections, it would just blow people's minds. Because I mean, I would blow people's mind from that one thing, that I knew that the producer or whatever said that Biff is modeled after Trump. And then you look at it, especially number 2, where he has a time travel thing in his safe and all this stuff. But I think it's really, really interesting. And I've always blew people's mind when they say, oh, I see that now. But now if you bring in all this gematria stuff to it, and like the Twitter thing just blows my mind. That's why like right after this, I want to go buy the movie for my phone and watch it. So
let's do it. We'll do it. Yeah. And talking of buying Back to the Future for your phone. So if you're like this. So if you just say buy George magazine, it comes to 160. And Rachel's, we won't say her full name, but her full name also comes to 160.
Really?
Yeah.
I tell you this with Rachel.
I'm misquoting slightly. So I'm saying buy, like BY. Not BUY. But if we did, how about this? This works. If we do George Magazine or George Magazine code, that's 160, because code is 27. Or we could say JFK George Magazine, because JFK is also 27. So JFK George Magazine or George Magazine code, it equals 160, which is Rachel's full name. So
I tell you, that's one of those things. The whole thing, actually, this whole thing with George. I mean, all of it just totally dropped into my lap. But and there's going to be more coming out in the future, but we'll talk about that later. But with Rachel, I mean, it's almost a godsend how we met each other. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, there's more to come. It's going to be, just stay tuned. Same Bat channel. Is that I don't know what Bat channel. See, I'm old school. We got to watch the old Batmans to see what they were trying to tell us then.
Well, Batman. Trump has already said he's Batman, hasn't he? And you just said, I was thinking of the word Space Force when you said the word future. And Future's 91, and also POTUS is 91, but also Space Force is 91. So you, me, and Tom had that connection about Space Force, but that's for another time. But talking of Batman, so Batman is Jassara, and President Trump has said, I'm Batman. But Trump is also Superman. And you know that because of he brought out the NFT trading cards just a week or so ago, and he's doing the Clark Kent ripping his shirt open as Mr. T. You know, we've got Janine DiMaggio. He always calls him Mr. T in the white hats, but it's got the T on his shirt. But the word Superman is 107, and the word Trumps is also 107, and it's trump cards, top Trumps, you know, top Superman, top Trumps. Who is he? Oh, it's Superman. It's Trump. And he's Batman as well. He's already told us that, you know.
So, all right, this is what keeps me thinking. It's good, and it's why I thought you were crazy when I first met you. So then I was like, okay, well, this guy's a good guy. And then you research it, and it's fascinating. So
yeah,
to say,
well, Trump taught me the numbers. He taught them to me. Like, we didn't have a phone call, but I had so the word download, like you got, you know, you've had this download of knowing where you fit in this puzzle now and what you're called to do. And the same with me and all the rest of us. But the word download equals the number 88 again. So it's a download, and it's quantum is 107, Trump's 107, military 107, Superman 107, Aquarius 107. It's the age of Aquarius we're in, you know. Golden, we're in the golden age. This is the beginning of the golden age, and golden is 57, which is George.
Interesting. it's by the way, it's interesting. Would you say so? What was it? 57 is golden or something?
Yeah, 57 is golden. And
yeah,
George is also 57, so it's Golden Magazine. It's George Magazine.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very interesting because you have Kim Clement. He prophesied a lot about this stuff here. He says, you know, he said, remember the name gold. It's interesting.
And also in terms of prophecy, you've got Trump. Trump is prophesied in the Book of Revelation. It's the Trump of the last days. The word Trump, or depending on which translation, it's Trump or trumpets. And it's like, well, that's his name's actually on the tin. And people are like, no, it can't be that. Not Donald Trump. Well, yeah, he's president of the world, of America. He's king of the world. And it's like, yeah, we're in the weirdest time, but the most magnificent time of all human history. Human is 57, Tesla's 57, George 57, Golden 57, and he is the Trump in the Bible. That's who it is. It's Trump. It's Donald Trump.
Here's the thing with it. You know, a lot of people, when it comes to the Bible things, they're like, oh, it can't be, you know, because they always think the Bible is like spooky people, just like old men, you know, that's the only thing. But like,
yeah,
God has always used real people like Cyrus. He was a real leader, a real general to accomplish his will. Yeah. I mean, all these people, they were historical figures that dealt with God's people. It's just interesting. That's all.
Very good. It is. And even if you do Book of Revelation, that comes to 185. And if you do Donald John Trump, that also comes to 185.
Okay.
It's right there, you know. It's right there.
It's all good.
And
well, we got to get you definitely. Like I said, I'll even send you an email. We'll get you scheduled like the first week in first week. I like to do the first week in January if we could, and then get you on the show, and then also point people back to this show. Just kind of like get some more information would be great.
Yeah, we'll do it, and we could do and we could. Yeah, I like the idea of doing a write up on.
It's Back to the Future. Yeah, if you did it, I'm sure that between, because you know Rachel and if you did it, I bet you anything would be just amazing if we could do something like that for the magazine. So
yeah,
anyway,
if you want to, we could do it. We can do it for sure. And it's there. Twitter's only going to get bigger.
Yeah,
so Back to the Future's only going to get bigger. You know, so we should do it for sure. Definitely. All right, my man. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Like I said, Tom, I was very excited. I knew we were trying to get together for a while, but it worked out pretty good, especially on a cold Christmas Eve. It's really nice to sit back and I'm glad that it worked out so we could have a little conversation, and then also for your viewers to think about something during this weekend. So it's good. And thank you. All
Well,
right.
thank you, buddy. We'll do it again early in Jan, and
Yep.
closing off, going back to 88022, Trump's number, that comes to 110. 88 plus 22 is 110. Comes to president, but it also comes to the word Christmas. So everyone, have a very, very Merry Christmas.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I love you guys. All right. Bye
Thanks,
now.
Gene. See you, buddy.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.